Hello, my fellow foam flinging enthusiasts. This is Andrew, aka Dart Sweep, and welcome to another fun, full, flinging foam filled episode of the Foam Zone. If this is your very first time joining us here on the Foam Zone is a bi weekly live streaming show where we interview guests all throughout the hobby, whether it be content creators, club admins, HVZ clubs. So if you are in the hobby and you'd like to promote your club or group or anything like that, hit us up and we'd love to have you on as a guest. As a friendly reminder, it takes a village, so please give us a thumbs up, like button, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as register yourself and your club on the worldfoamalliance.org website. We are slowly but surely gathering and networking to connect us all together. And I think we have some pretty exciting things coming up, especially with all these large scale events that are soon to be upon us. So, some very exciting times for sure. With that also being said, just some quick housekeeping notes regarding some of the upcoming events. First of all, Maryland Mayhem's Blaster Con is now open for vendor applications. If you'd like to be a vendor, if you have some stuff to sell or to showcase, show off, or if you just want to say hi to people and support the event, we'd love to have you. Visit the marylandfoamalliance.com. I think marylandfoamalliance.com/Maryland Mayhem. .com for the information for the registration information for that. Also, the vendor applications is also now open for Survival Fest. And Survival Fest is still looking for donators as well. So if you have a chance, go ahead and get in touch with Spy Mike or Pandora, and they would love to have you. Also, of course, the next episode of the Foam News Collective will be airing either tomorrow, and the podcast, I think tomorrow, and the podcast is on Friday, so stay tuned for that. And second to last but not least is End War. End War was finally officially announced for the weekend of July, what is it, July 6th, 7th, and 8th, I think, or July 7th, 8th, and 9th. I think it's one of those combinations. But yes, the first weekend in July. So I had a lot of fun last year. The mod team did fantastic. It was a little hot, but if it's anything like it was last year, I definitely highly recommend checking it out. It definitely was a lot of fun. So if you have the opportunity, visit the endwarhvz.com website for more information. And just another, I'm so sorry. Another couple things is next Monday, we'll be live streaming another episode of the Sophie Lightning Hour with Sophie Lightning and our very good friend here, Captain Xavier. So that will be airing next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then the following episode of the Foam Zone, not next weekend, or not next Wednesday, because that'll be Get Off My Lawn, but the following Wednesday, we'll be having a very special episode live streaming of the Foam Zone. World Foam Alliance presents the Maryland Foam Tournament Bracket Day, where we will be selecting the teams for the Maryland Foam Tournament in their group brackets with myself and Boomstick Mods. We'll be going over the rules and doing a quick question and answering session. So if you're interested in the rules overview or have some questions, definitely make sure to tune in March 20th at 8 p.m. on the World Foam Alliance YouTube channel. So now, without further ado, I'm super excited to finally get a chance to introduce our guest for the evening, who needs no introduction, I'm sure. Many of you have seen him at numerous events, but probably mostly from their YouTube channel. They sometimes wear a beret, and they are often known to be able to destroy you with a very silly loadout. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Brett, aka Beret, who sometimes wears a beret.
Hello. Yes, I am Brett. Sometimes I wear a beret, which is why sometimes you'll see a hat and that says Bert. So that's a different character today, playing into every possible variant out there. Thank you, Andrew, for having me on tonight. And yes, I am happy to be here, chat about some things in the hobby.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I remember the first time we met actually was back in 2022 at End War 2022, right before the Foam Pro tournament. We all met together for a little pregame. I think it was our team Magic Smoke. Your team at the time was Paradox, and I think some of the Frumble team was there as well. And we all went out to Applebee's, and we were all just kind of getting acquainted with each other. A lot of us were meeting each other for the first time. Some of us knew each other a little bit before, but I want to say by the end of that whole weekend, I definitely felt like we had built a pretty good relationship. And I remember, Applebee's sitting there, and you get a message from Drac, and what was that message?
I was making a silly request for information, which I would not recommend doing because it would possibly be a conflict of interest. But I did ask about the field layout because notoriously we were not given any information as to what it might be. And so I asked if the field was strong, and I was given the response that it was in fact strong. And we kind of let that ride for not just that event, but for events of the future. So it was definitely a way to get excited for the next day. And yes, I shared that, of course, across the table because it's not really sharing anything too important, but it was pretty funny to have received that message, kind of confirming that they had officially finished setting it up for the evening.
Right. And that's what I always associate you with, that hashtag, and the hashtag was hashtag strong.
Strong. Yep. and that what's crazy is that you describe how, like, yeah, I didn't really know you at the time of that event, but afterwards we kind of felt really good about it. That was a really significant event for me because I had not really traveled to something of that nature since I guess 2019 End War. So it'd been 3 years, but it really felt like it had been a lot longer. And I mean, all things considered, all I did was I flew out for a single day event, like maybe even less than that. Is a comp day even like a full day event if we like consider it compared to like some of the other things we do? So it was
Right.
really like this. I don't know. It wouldn't have made sense to me ages ago to make that kind of trip, like spend that kind of money just to play for a chance to qualify for an event. But it ended up being a really, I mean, fantastic experience. And yeah, I got to meet you. I got to meet a bunch of people that I wouldn't have met probably until years later. And
Right.
it was, yeah, really, I found it to be a really great experience.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, because I've seen your YouTube channel well before I started doing my own content and everything, and you inevitably you put certain people up on a pedestal, and you get a chance to meet them in person. You get that opportunity sometimes, which we did, and I was like, oh man, this guy's actually pretty. He's pretty cool, and he's kind of he's not putting on a show, and he kind of is what he is. And I remember after the tournament, we kind of had an after party at I think one of our people's one of the Maryland people's hotel room, and I remember you were there, kind of just scoping out, just kind of hanging back a little bit. By the end of the night, you were getting down on some Smash Brothers tournament, and you were all in it. And yeah, I mean that's kind of says a lot. I think of what this hobby in general can do for people in general. It's amazing how things evolve like that. So
yeah, and from my perspective, I mean, you guys were the tighter knit group, right? Like you all together were like the ones who knew each other. So I was kind of really learning a few people for the first time and then getting my bearings, like, because I feel kind of like an outsider right now. Like I just want to play here too. I want to say hi. But yeah, it was yeah, by the end, exactly. It was really nice to just hang out, and it was like there were no barriers of like, oh, this man makes YouTube videos. It helps when you're shorter than everyone too. Then they don't have to like look up to you. Literally, they just look like, you're funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you guys don't know, Brett is good people. So if you ever get a chance, definitely say hi and thank him for everything that he has contributed to the hobby. So, I know we kind of just sort of introduced yourself, but why don't you go ahead and formally introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your real everyday kind of background.
Yeah. So by day, I technically am an engineer, and by night, I fight crime, and also make YouTube videos sometimes. Uh, I that was a joke. Just I am joking. That would be crazy, but no, I am primarily by day. Yes, YouTube is not my full time job. I don't see that ever being a reality. I do enjoy it as a hobby, but it is of course difficult to make that leap, and I'm sure if you have anyone who is just on the cusp of making it their full-time job, they can tell you all the pros and especially the cons that come with that. So I'm very thankful to have something that does pay my bills and that allows me to sometimes invest into going into a trip like that, because my YouTube channel, cards on the table, does not make the kind of money where I can just travel all the time. I'm very fortunate that it can sometimes supplement what I'm able to do, but we of course are not talking about uh, being able to fund crazy trips, adventures, or even some of the blasters you see people buying. I can't just say like, well, I have a YouTube channel, I should buy that. $550 blaster, $1,000, whatever. It is what it is. I gotta show it off. No, 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 no. Doesn't work like that. So I am. That's mostly what I do, and then I have the weekends typically available to try and fit in some of these events, and trying to, yeah, now of course trying to see when I can attend some of those long distance events that are popping up more and more frequently, and they keep being more and more enticing to want to travel to. So it's hard, but I guess it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem for people who are close to them too. That means more people get to attend stuff. So I've been, yeah, as far as like then when I got into stuff, I've been doing Nerf, been interested in the foam flinging world since I was in middle school, which would put me back at this point 15. No, it's longer. We're between 15 and 20 years now, which is wild to say out loud. And yes, in case some of you thought I was like 13, you're wrong. I am not that young. I do have experience, and I will touch on that again later. But yeah, so I've been interested, and I've been kind of paying attention to all this stuff for many a years, and that is kind of one of the reasons that I'm here with you now, because I just never lost the interest. I never lost the spark, so to speak, and it just kind of evolved in new ways. And I obviously, yeah, now I could have never imagined that this is where I would be when I first started like looking at stuff on store shelves. Which, like, fun fact, first blaster I picked out thanks to my parents was the N-Strike Unity system. That's 3 blasters, and I got it the little DVD with it too, which meant that I could play games. I could do that really old N-Strike uh, game where you shoot at targets on your TV, which again nowadays you probably wouldn't want to do even with like the suction cup darts, because we have nice TVs. Back then it was like tube TV, and I was really convinced that it was registering my hits because it showed where the marks were, and I thought I did that. So I was an idiot. And fortunately, we're a little bit past that point. I'm less of an idiot now. But that was the experience of having like small scout, Hornet, and then Titan. I think gave me a good variety of stuff to kind of whet my fancy and be like, ooh, I wanna see more of what was out there.
Right. So, I mean, how did you really get into it? I mean, you said you were a kid and you went into a toy aisle, but I mean, how did you get into it and how did it evolve? Why did you choose to stay with it, do you think?
Yeah, so that's how I kind of got the first stuff. So maybe a couple of blasters started accumulating, but nothing had really happened yet aside from shooting at a TV. And the real catalyst was that a friend of mine had a surprise birthday party. This is still in middle school, by the way. So, we're still young. Um, and another friend of mine kind of introduced the idea that we were going to have this surprise birthday party for him. And not only was it going to be a surprise, like the idea of it is a surprise, it's going to be a surprise, like we're going to ambush him with Nerf blasters. And I was like, I have a couple of those. I don't think I have enough darts though. So we literally got like an extra pack of darts. Like he got me some extra darts from the store, and we went to this person's house. I actually realized I didn't know this person really well. It was a friend of a friend, so I trusted him enough. But we went to this person's house with a few other people. Like, yeah, I didn't know these people. This is weird. And we kind of all hid in this person's house. I did not know. I'm saying this out loud, like I'm just kind of realizing how mildly sketchy it was at the time. It's not a big deal. And we ambushed him when he came in, happy birthday. And then we took that to the local park, and we just kind of had what you would call, a classic Nerf battle, like open field pretty much. 4v4, 5, the original 5v5, maybe, debatably. This is where I learned my 5v5 skills. And it was, yeah, Maverick, Night Finder. I'm trying to remember if the long shot was in play at that time, probably a recon. So we're talking low powered stuff. But that was the first time that I really engaged in a battle where it was like just these goofy kids running around. You're again like no cover. You're just firing and seeing if the dart will hit. I think someone was handing me off like reloaded Mavericks as I was trying to shoot at people. And it was just like, this is great. Like, I love this. So obviously I wanted to do more of it. And that led to a few of us who had been at that party to really get more serious about getting more blasters, looking more into the modification side. And inevitably that led to kind of looking more online too. It's like, okay, what are people doing? What's out there? Like, I know what I see on toy store shelves. And that would be like, I look on one side and I see the Nerf stuff. I look on the other side and I see Buzzbee. And you're like, there's some weird stuff there, but I'm kind of interested in that. But then looking more online, you see people start to review things and you're like, whoa, like there's a world out here. These people are shooting like darts with like glue in the heads. What's going on there? And so obviously we started learning, and we started implementing things that made sense to us. And a small group of us would eventually kind of through high school just continue to play and continue to watch and learn what other people were doing across the US or across the world online. And yeah, that was kind of like the initial grabbing point for me that really launched me after into college and beyond to still just be like, yeah, I've played with a lot of this stuff before. I've watched people from like early days. This is why, even if I wasn't going to like super large organized events at the time, kind of through high school, it was just us organizing stuff for our friends. But it gave us something to do, and it gave us something to learn off of. So that when more stuff came out, we'd seen all these blasters before. We knew what the mods were, even if we haven't done them before. Angel Breach Longshot, yeah, a friend made one of those. Did I personally? No. My skills modding were lackluster, but I still knew what it was and I was familiar with all that stuff. So that knowledge kind of propelled me through the years. And then it just, yeah, like I said before, didn't stop.
I mean, that sounds like it was a pretty sophisticated gathering to begin with as kids to kind of put that together and then stay with that as you were growing up throughout high school and everything. Do you remember or do you recall what you would consider your first official blaster battle?
What we would call it? Oh man, I don't know if we had a name for it. I know who
And
I
what
can
was that
ask.
like?
What was the experience of it like?
Yeah, do you remember like what you would consider your first like official blaster battle where there was like cover and like some modded blasters where you were like, okay, I kind of want to take this to another level a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think is like I want to say, because I remember we skipped quite a few years to get to like 2016, the beginning of like the Pacific Northwest Nerf Club stuff, which was like pretty obvious. And then even before that, there was some stuff going on for a few folks that I met up with in Oregon. But like between that time, I guess technically I visited a college campus or two. While I was in college, we didn't have the largest Nerf scene, but we did do some events, and I think there is evidence of that on my YouTube channel too. But I also went to more largely organized events at UC Davis
Okay.
here in California because my friend who I was CalDub Kyle Pink Dragon Tuning, he was there and met people who were huge into Nerf and they had an already established club. And so multiple times in a year, I did go to their own events and like got to experience HVZ for the first time, got to experience their unique games that they played at a very unique field. But it was still a little bit different than like setting up a field with like their own cover. So that's why it's like it's hard to kind of compare and contrast. But that's probably one of the first things I would say, because even in then like during that time too, yeah, sure, we'll call this one fair as well. Some of the not the Bay Area Ultra Stock games, which are boss nowadays, but the Bay Area foam baft burn, almost forgot it. The Bay Area Urban Recreational Nerd. Man, if only I remembered things acronym wise. But there was a group. This is where I first met Mr. Jangular, that who was someone who I looked up to at the time because he had been posting gameplay footage while I was still like having very small events, and I got to see one of their events in person. And that I think that would be fair to say was one of our very first kind of big organized Nerf events, which the title of that was Burn Something Point Something Season Blank Point Game Blank. So not exactly the most interesting name off the top of my head, but a very different experience because that was the first time that we really took there he is, Bay Area Urban Recreational Nerf. Yeah, boy. My memory ain't too shot. And that's where we took some of our blasters and our skills for the first time and met with other people and saw, hey, we don't suck. Cool. This is good. This is good. But it was an adult only group. So even if we had known about it earlier, we would not have been allowed to play because we did need to be 18. So it did take a little bit of time because that's obviously after high school that I would have been officially 18. That is when we found that group and played a little bit with them. Though at that time, I had also already moved out of the area. I was living in Oregon at the time.
All right. Well, apparently, I guess we have opened the call lines. So it sounds like we actually have a caller. So let's go ahead and take that call. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for waiting. Who do we have on the line?
Double Punch Pro Nerfer.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Double Punch Pro Nerfer.
Double Punch Pro Nerfer, how are ya?
Pretty good. Just living out the night tonight.
The nightlife. Nice. Excellent. Where are you calling from?
Michigan.
Michigan. Excellent. Well, you are on the line with Brett. Anything you want to ask?
Yeah, actually, I was wondering, what's your favorite blaster?
It was inevitable. We were going to get there.
Yeah, of course.
You stole my
question. Further define your question. I need a little bit more specificity on this best blaster. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a random one.
Like, what's your favorite elite blaster?
Ooh, there you go. I should know this then off the top of my head. Something goofy maybe. First thing that comes to mind that I had a fun time with was the rough cut that got me through high school. For various reasons, I just found it to be really unique and funny to like just slam off 8 darts really quickly, and people didn't know it could do that initially. The Hailfire also became fun when it first came out. I think that was because I had it and none of my other friends did. So I'm not sure if that meant it was good, but it did something. And then the Strife slowly became another enjoyable thing. I know that's kind of a boring answer, but at the time you were like, whoa, this thing's kind of good. If only I'd known. But from all of those, I just gave you three. Let's see, from all of those, I'm sure there's other ones that you could consider too. Man, let's just say if I had a hailfire right now, that would be a lot of fun because that's just something you don't see as often nowadays because it doesn't make as much sense, even though they initially advertised it as being the original Strife Killer. Did they do that? Did Nerf try to make a Strife Killer by making a blaster that was supposed to be like a higher capacity Strife? I think the Hailfire is a pretty solid place in my memory.
I don't really think they've made like a really like hard hitting one, but yeah, they made one that almost did it.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite blaster?
For my favorite elite blaster, I would have to say, oh, that's a tough one, but I would have to say probably the crossbolt.
Oh, that's a good, yeah, that's very unique.
That's a good answer. Excellent. All right. Well, we appreciate you calling in. We will be opening up the call lines again later on in the show for the trivia questions. Also, just for anyone that would like to call in and say hi and ask a question. So I would like to ask the chat a couple questions. First of all, do you remember your very first blaster battle? And do you have any specific memories from that? And what was your very first blaster that you actually brought to that blaster battle? I'm very curious to know what everyone has to say in the chat regarding that. Let us see. Call in time.
Someone said the Hailfire was before the Strife. No, that's wrong. Don't look it up. You're wrong. Just don't look it up. You can make a Strife Killer before the Strife, okay? You can do it. Nerf knew what they were doing. Of course.
Yeah, I just saw that on the chat. That's funny. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Tell your friends, family, everyone to like and subscribe. We'd appreciate it. And also to go ahead to the worldfoamalliance.org website to register yourself and your club or whomever you want to network with. Let's see. So what do you think what is it that you really attracts you? What do you really love about the hobby or community that has kept you here for so long and hopefully will continue to do so?
Well, now it's the people, because when I was younger, as I said, I was with my friends, close-knit group, and we were discovering more stuff. But as it's grown, the only way to really stick around with it is to be engaged as like a group, because you can enjoy plenty of stuff online, and there's no shame in doing that, especially if you can't go to events. We're not trying to shame anyone who isn't able to make a trip because they don't have something that's 20 minutes away from where they live. But as I would grow and kind of learn more about the hobby and then meet like-minded people, this was of course first put to the test when I went to college, and you're like, hey, you started meeting some people who were nearby, and also like a couple of them had also paid attention to like, oh, I watched some stuff online too. Did you see that review like from that germ guy? He made that like integration. You're like, oh yeah, I know that one. They're like, hey, this is a Southeast slug, and I was like, you're from the Southeast, but we're on the West Coast. Whoa. And so I bonded with like-minded individuals who together we kind of learned more about stuff and had more goofy experiences, and that led to meeting more people. And eventually you're just surrounded with a new kind of friend group that you never would have expected to have, all based off of around these like-minded interests, right? But again, yeah, like as a young one, it was mostly just about like the new stuff, and then over time it became about like, okay, well, we got the stuff. We're gonna learn more about the stuff regardless. This is what's gonna happen. More stuff's gonna be made. People want to make money. Hasbro wants to make money. That's always true. But the people are the unique part, and that's what, like I said, kind of we started off of. I met very different people by going to the East Coast, because it's just, there's so many different groups and you're not going to be able to experience them all, even if we try. There's some people who probably have a better chance of going to all those different groups out there. But when you are able to do it, it really opens your eyes to like, wow, this isn't just like this isolated little thing that I've found enjoyment in. It's like, no, it really is a big deal for a lot of people. And the more you learn that people do enjoy this, and like, instead of just like they think about it for 5 minutes and they're done, the more you kind of like feel like you have a sense of belonging. You have, I think the World Film Alliance knows that pretty well at this point too. You get a good idea of like, yeah, there are people here who just want to have fun and play, and those are the kind of people I want to be around. And then you learn more about them and you care about them, and then it makes you care more about going to games in the future too, because you don't want to go to, I mean, I would enjoy going to games just to play Nerf, that's for sure, but there's plenty of like people I wouldn't want to just go Nerf with, because I want to go play Nerf with the people who actually want to be there. And I say that to harken back to an experience I had where people were playing Nerf but didn't want to, and that was there's a game, I'm not even sure if I want to say the full name out loud now because YouTube can be a little weird about it. Assassin is the game in general, but the if anyone's had experiences with those before, it can be played with various forms of projectiles. Nerf was a common one when we were in high school. Problem is there was like money involved, and a lot of the people who played it in my grade, well, they wanted to win the money associated with it. And this has been something we really all wanted to play since we were younger. But the what I learned was seeing people play Nerf who didn't care about Nerf. That was rough. That led to a lot of problems, especially when I was the one who organized the event that year, because I thought it actually had some potential. Incorrect. So I learned from that really we should not take for granted the people who come to play because they want to play, because yeah, anyone can pick up a Nerf blaster, and a lot of people just do have them. But the people who really want to like dedicate time and go to events like the ones that we're hosting, their head's hopefully in the right place for a good game, an honest game, a fun game, a fair game, not one where you're going to snip someone's power so that you can get inside and tag them. Yeah, we could make a whole live stream out of these stories, but let's not do that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. For me, a huge part of it is the people, and it really does become kind of a social aspect of your life, and becomes a part of you. And sometimes at a certain point, these people, are almost like part of your family members, if that makes sense. Which is, you don't get that opportunity in a lot of things, honestly. So I think that's why I gravitate towards this myself, is really the people out there. And let's be honest, it's cool and it's fun to play with kids' toys. So
yeah.
So
I saw it as like the parkour shooting sport, like the video games in real life too. That was the other way I kind of defined it when I was younger, and that's always been one thing that I enjoyed about it, versus like, why do you play this, versus like, the legitimate question, like, why do you not play airsoft or paintball? It's like, it could, but that's how I see the Nerf stuff. And there's so many different like ammo types that fall under the Nerf umbrella too, right? Like the Nerf, the foam flinging umbrella. Like, right. Where else can you get that kind of diversity in your play styles?
For sure, absolutely, and I think a lot of that has to do with the ammo capacity, for sure. But great point. Is I think the amount of variety of ammo makes it very appealing and a lot of fun, and also cost of entry to get started and play. For sure, there's arguments to be made. But why not both? Or why not everything? And why not all together? Maybe one day. So before someone beats me to the question again, I am curious, what are some of your current favorite blasters from past, currently, and that you're looking forward to in the future? And we'll break it down into silly blasters, competitive blasters, and stuff that you would use for HVZ. So kind of the wide gamut. The people want to know, what does Brett like to? What does Brett enjoy?
Well, I did think of a few things there. While my memory was in nostalgia lane, the Nerf Wildfire, that was pretty wild to see one of those fire for the first times. You never really forget just how scary some of the old designs used to be. Scary in a kind of great way, but I can see why they maybe don't make those anymore. So that's a pretty crazy blaster. The Sledge Fire has been one of my longest standing in the collection blasters. I think I've explained that one pretty well. It's like it can be usable in a lot of games, but it's also just fun. It's kind of goofy. It's not as practical because shells,
Right.
but at the same
Can
time,
we run
Can
we run some clips of the Maryland Mayhem 11th hour blaster battle while we're discussing blasters?
There's some
And whatever you want to
options
queue up,
there, too.
honestly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, look at that little thing. The Gallarhorn, was a challenge.
Was hilarious to watch you run, and I could tell you were having so much fun with it.
The true pain of trying to run blasters in general. Another one that came to mind of ye old times, the Cam ECS being like a fun strife blaster. That's a blaster that's like, I really like this thing, but I like to look at it. And because like for some people, they just like stuff because they like the look of it, and you're like, that's totally fine. And like in my case, that's probably like my favorite strife reskin, but I don't think I'd use it too much. Like, it's cool though. But I don't even own one right now, so what does that say about me? And then modern stuff. Obviously, I'm a big Harrier fan. I have seen the Seagull. I've been told about the Seagull, told how good the Seagull is. But my Harrier works for me, and that's what I use. Of course, I'm using a Tryon here because I didn't use it at all the day prior, or the day prior for comp. There's that boy, and so I might as well use that there too. Pump action Springer, you can't really go too wrong with that. Hopefully use more of that in the future too. I'm trying to think of like stuff that's on the horizon that I'm like super excited about. I find I'm in an interesting spot where I've actually tried to put a lot more focus this year on looking backwards,
Right.
which means that a lot of my upcoming events, I have some dumb stuff planned, but also some stuff that's like
I don't know who I'm aiming at actually.
Vortex,
Oh, hi.
Boomco,
How are you?
things that I myself haven't touched in a long time, but I can still see them having uses for where I'm going to play. Of course, as we switch over to competitive footage, I wouldn't maybe be using them there because I would no longer have a team, and rightfully so. But for other stuff, absolutely, because when you've got infinite respawns, especially when you respawn instantly, what's the catch? I don't get what are you guys complaining about? I'm gonna run in, get tagged out, and I'm gonna run right back. So
Right.
yeah, gosh, there's so many. I know there's like, that's always what I harp on people for. Like when they say, "What's your favorite blaster?" I'm like, stop right there. Further define that question, because there's so many ways to think about it. There's so many ways to answer it, and as soon as you give out an answer, you're like, "Oh, but I forgot about the blank because that's my favorite HVZ." And I guess like to answer the HVZ one, I like the Red Reaper. That'd be a fun HVZ blaster. But I don't have I I think enough experience to even say like what my favorite HVZ blaster is. I haven't even I don't know if I've used a single blaster for HVZ more than once. Does that make sense of why it's then hard to say this is the best?
Well, I feel like you want to use a different blaster every time you get a chance to go to an event like that. So it's hard to say. So you really don't get an opportunity to do the same blaster over and over again. So for me personally, right now, I'd say I'm using the limited edition Halo Needler. Like 99% of the times for these UMBC nightly missions, and it is a lot of fun. I don't think I have it here on me, but I recently was given what we would call vintage, I think at this point, Adventure Force Havoc Rampage. It's a bolt prime clip fed
one.
Yeah, and it is way better than it has any right to be.
That's vintage now? Oh no.
I don't know if it is. It definitely looks.
I think it does maybe qualify. We need a ruling on the field for what vintage really is now. But yeah, that has been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm here to have fun and use kind of some less competitive OP, I guess, blasters or whatever you want to call it, and just really kind of embrace having fun with these kind of fun gimmicky blasters, which is something I really enjoy watching you do. Honestly, on your content, is we can really tell that you're there to have fun and you're running around. What was the last one that you did? We've seen the Jolt one. You did the foam knife one recently. Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
those are absolutely hilarious, and not only that, you're effective with it too. It's not like you're just like just running around and.
My team is effective at dealing with me.
That's fair.
You learn how to piggyback off of what they're trying to do, and then you take credit for it.
That's
Yeah.
fair. What would you say currently is your favorite kind of silly blaster or item, melee weapon, or anything like that you're currently
Well,
using?
Well, that would you added melee at that point. I'm surprised how much melee I've pulled out recently. I think it might be a problem, but I've enjoyed doing some of that. If you've seen, yes, my makeshift Halo energy sword, which is basically just like all pool noodle. It's like
That's what it was.
you give yourself a little bit more than just the raw pool noodle. It's like it has some definition, but at the same time, there's like only PVC in like the handle part, so it's all safe, very floppy. But you look at it for a few seconds and you're like, oh, I see what that is. Okay. And then you hear me running at you, like making noises. And it's like, oh, okay, this guy has some issues, but he's having fun. So that's fine. I used a blow up hammer recently. That's something I had from, oh my gosh, I think it was 15 years ago now, is when my dad and I first got them for like an unrelated event. And
That's vintage.
he gave it to me like because I asked because we still had a couple of them. And I was like, I'll take them because I know exactly what I'm going to do with them. And it's like those kinds of things, they're super safe, right? Like we can debate some of those types of melee that people want to bring out to games, but it's like blow up hammer, like squeaky squeaky. It's like nah, it's super safe, and so you know that you're not going to hurt anyone at events too, which is a good feeling.
Right.
But then yeah, I'm trying to think of like an actual blaster that's been like a fun go-to. World's smallest Nerf blasters. That was one time, and I'm gonna need
That was
motivation to do that again. I think you know what, I may have to be right there with you with the needler because that is just something that I've brought out, and people recognize it immediately, right? And then they see it firing, they're like, oh wait, it functions. That's kind of cool, and you're like, yeah, it's not great, but raw. So it's like it's fun.
I mean,
it's fun to use. People appreciate it.
it's extremely fun to use, and I get a decent amount of tags with it. The fact that it's got the needle with the lights as the ammo counters as you fire.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite thing is that it's an AEB. And
There you go. There you go. Nerf did it.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I highly recommend if you get a chance to check out the Needler for any occasion. Don't
Not
underestimate
sponsored.
it. They
Not
did
sponsored
pretty
by
good.
Nerf, obviously.
That's right. My only constructive criticism is no sound effects. Missed opportunity there, but can't win them all. All right. Yeah. I just have a couple questions for the live chat right now. What are some of your favorite melee weapons that you get a chance to use at your local club events? Also, let's get the super chat going. If you are generous enough, go ahead and leave a comment down in the super chat, and we'll make sure to give you a shout out. And if you have a specific question, we'll make sure that we answer those specifically for your in return for your gracious donations. So also the phone lines are back open. If you'd like to call in and say hello, or if you have a question, we'll pop the number up on the screen again at some point. Magically will appear. Top. Now I'm being told on top. There we go. Okay, it's there somewhere in the interweb. So. But yes, so let's see. Blah 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 blah. So let's talk about where you play at. I mean, you mentioned some of it before going out to Janglers place. Shout out to Jangular. Very sad that he won't be able to come to Maryland Mayhem this year, but we'll be here in spirit, hopefully, and hopefully we'll be able to somehow coordinate this live stream that the WFA is doing and get them on commentary for that, which should be hopefully very exciting. But yeah, what clubs do you attend? Where do you play? Tell us a little bit about them, age groups, FPS caps, general info.
Yeah.
Where do you play at? Yep.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, so I'm sure Jang, if he's still here, will say it wasn't my group, but sorry, but no one else is here to take that from you, so it's yours now. The place that I play now primarily is with the San Diego Nerf Club, so that would be the SDNC. I know
Shout
there's
out.
another, but because they're far enough apart, we shouldn't usually have too many problems with overlapping events or confusion there. So, but it could happen. The SDNC has been excellent for challenging my competitive play. I have, as described, I didn't get into the hobby playing with super high modded stuff. It was mostly low powered, and so you can't decline ownership, Jang. It's yours now. That's the rule. You're not the one on the list. So I didn't get into high FPS when I was younger. There were certain things that was like, oh wait, you take off like the front part of the big bad, not the big bad bow, the Busby Big Blast, and then you shoot Dart miles away. That's pretty crazy. Wow, nuts. But we mostly played with lower powered stuff with like slight modifications. So over time, I have slowly played at more and more high powered events, and the SDNC has a cap of 220. So typically we are playing games that will punish you if you're not paying attention to what's going on. Let's say it like that. And they've been excellent for teaching me their ways, making me a better competitive player. And I have been a nuisance in helping them see the goofy side of life. And if any of them want to disagree with that, they can put it in the chat now. But that's what I'm saying out loud, and that's what's going to be set in stone. But with them, I've been able to go to some really cool events too. The Jungle Island paintball area is excellent. That is a very unique experience. That's the kind of events that I dreamed of when I was in high school, and now here I am years later getting to realize them. So there's your life lesson. If you can't play at events right now, or you really want to and you're sad, just wait a little bit and maybe something will pan out. And then the other games we'll play at the local church are still excellent when we get to have like kind of free control to set up different fields with the cover. I think can't take that for granted enough. That's excellent that we get to do that. There's I think a few other places in rotation too, but those are the ones that jump out as I think about them. Oh, we're renting a turf field as well, which is the fact that we can do that too, because we have so many active members who will attend and contribute the money for it and make it like an actual full day of play.
And that's with the inflatables.
That's with the inflatables, yeah. So we have not just the people attending, but we have people who have those inflatables and then pay for the events to happen too. So it's fantastic. Yeah, I don't really help with. I'll be perfectly honest. I am not like the brains behind this organization. I am just an attendee. So I just try to help with little things here and there. And I guess you could say I promote the events by showing them off online. Yeah, it's pretty low effort. And there's another one locally.
Moral support.
Yeah, I pay my dues. I don't like try to get away for free. You know how many subscribers I have, guys? Just let me get it for free. And there's another local event or group too, the Lazy Uncles Nerf Club. I have to give them a huge shout out. They are a more all ages group because the SDNC typically is for a higher age group, like teens and up. Lazy Uncles Nerf Club does see attendees that are a little bit younger, and I've always had a good time playing with all ages because sometimes you see the kids running around having a good time, and that's what makes all the difference in knowing that you've had a successful event. You also know that you're playing a different game and you can kind of lay back a little bit and not play super sweaty when you do see that kid, with a Halo mask and a MA40, and you're like, okay, you know what? He doesn't need to die. He's gonna do his best, and I'm going to run at him very slowly with this foam hammer, and I really hope he can get a couple shots on me, and then it's gonna make his day, and then everyone's happy. So those have been some really cool events at some really cool parks more north of where I live, and yeah, some great turnouts at those events too. Really just taking advantage of the nice SoCal weather down here to the best of our abilities, because we're only in March, and I've gone to quite a few events already this year. Very fortunate.
I used to live in the Valley in LA in the Woodland Hills area, and I very much miss being able to hop over Topanga Canyon, go to Malibu or Santa Monica. But I will get out there eventually and hopefully get a chance to fling some foam on the West Coast someday, hopefully. And then what's some events that you've attended in the past? Large scale events, I should say.
Yeah. Because obviously before this, the Pacific Northwest Nerf Club was my home base. I think I can take credit for partially helping start that stuff. I was not alone. There are many people who wear those hats, but I'm glad to see it's thriving. And so I will be visiting there in a couple months. So that'll be fun to see how things are going. But before that, some other large scale events that I've gone to. I think the first big event that I traveled for was End War in 2018, and that was in Ohio. That was a big experience for me because I had never traveled. I mean, living on the West Coast, going to Ohio, it's a big trip. That's a big trip just to go play Nerf. And it was a fun experience. At least I had a travel buddy, Jangular, if you're still here. There were some challenging times getting to where we needed to go, and we got there. We were not consumed by the rains, but we had a great time at the event. It was a lot of fun. That was my first real big HVZ experience too. As I've kind of explained up to this point, HVZ is not my background. A lot of people say they get into Nerf from the hopping off point that was college HVZ. I didn't have that. I was unable to organize anything like real significant Nerf wise at my college. They kind of shut us down once we started organizing. Woohoo! Love that. But I was still paying attention, so it didn't die, obviously. Didn't die there. But as a result, I was not, an HVZ expert. And so going to something like End War was like, oh my God, there are literally hundreds of people here running around. This is nuts. This is scary, which is why I chose a very silly loadout. Because, why would you want to survive? That would be silly. And then End War 2019 as well. And I guess Ragnar Oktoberfest kind of counts still at that time because I wasn't in the immediate area, but being from the Bay Area, Rag has always been relatively close to where my family is. So making that commitment every year, as long as the event is on, is pretty easy for me. So I'm very thankful to have that one nearby. So I know that Rag 2024 should be possible so long as no crazy life events happen during that time. But Rag is also a really fun experience to see, some more local people that I'm more familiar with, and then have other people coming to you, and you're like, now I'm a little bit more familiar with what's going on here. And just, kind of comparing the differences between the two events, you're like, oh, it's cool to have the differences. I know, some people, they really want to see kind of like that uniform, like this is the way, this is the way comp should be run across the board. Like that'll make it easier for me to travel. But at the same time, like the uniqueness of the different locations is kind of what I've found to be enjoyable, like planning and prepping for something different, so long as you have enough like notice and enough time to prep and plan and practice. And even, for like Rags HVZ, right? It's HVZ. It's like you've got humans, and zombies. And that's always been kind of their goal versus a lot of others that just do HVZ. And I'm obviously lumping just HVZ in a very large category because it's much more complex than that. But at least for someone with limited experience like myself, getting to do two very different types was like, okay, this is fun. Like, I'm glad that there's some different styles being put on, and I'm glad that we can have both of those be pretty successful, and that people will want to experience both because both have their pros and both have their like, oh, I wish I could do this instead. So I think those are honestly, and then I guess I did this thing in New Jersey once, the thing we started on already, the Foam Pro Tour qualifier. That's the other event I've traveled for, and that's I think it. Like I really haven't traveled that far all the time for events. If I'm missing something, it's going to be embarrassing, but yeah, there's plenty of room to keep going to more. There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, I'm super excited because I really feel like between last year and going into this year, and obviously going into 2025, that there's going to be a lot of events and options for people, which is great because I feel like some people, due to scheduling issues or budget or location, can't make one, but now they're going to be able to make others. Different regions are going to be able to showcase kind of how they do things and what they are able to offer for foam flinging. That's kind of why we do Maryland Mayhem, is because we want to show everyone else what Maryland has to offer as far as the way we do things here. Not necessarily.
I didn't say Maryland in that. There you go. I forgot Maryland in that list.
Oh, no one cares about that one, anyways. That one's not important.
That one's not very important. It's probably not going to last too long, anyways.
That's right. It was luck last year. It's luck this year. We'll see.
There's like one organizer, maybe two. I don't know.
That's all right. It's a great opportunity, I think, just because the door is open to be able to have different options to attend these events that we didn't have necessarily, obviously, during the pandemic, and then kind of as things were really heating up right before the pandemic. But I'm super excited to see all these events, and like I said, I highly recommend checking out these if you get a chance to attend them, because there's a lot of camaraderie, community building, and a chance to hang out with people that you normally wouldn't get a chance to on a lot of occasions. So friendly reminder, the phone lines are open. I also think this might be a good time to open up our trivia question. And just a friendly reminder for everyone that was a past winner on the show that has not received their prize yet, specifically the Dart Zone Solo, which we were waiting to get restocked. They are now back in stock. I bulked ordered some, so we are all good to go. I just need you to go ahead and shoot me a DM because my short-term memory has forgotten your contact information. So if you're a past winner, go ahead and contact myself or someone at the WFA. Get us that info, and I will get that out to you. Sam, specifically, I know you want that autographed one, so I will get that out to you, which I have in my hand, and I'll be sending that out very shortly. But yeah, let's open up this trivia question. I gave some suggestions for the questions before we started here on the live stream, but I feel like it's appropriate if Brett actually asked the question and see if he can stump the audience. And the winner, of course, will be the first one to call in with the correct answer, and we will give away a Dart Zone Solo, as well as Brett is gonna throw in some goodies as well. So may the odds ever be in your favor, and good luck. I'll leave it up to you, Brett.
Yeah, I guess I'll trying to think if it's shouldn't be too challenging to quickly research, I suppose. I'll go with the maybe our original idea. The what blaster did I use at the Foam Pro Tour qualifier in 2022? And for additional context, this is the event we keep referencing. Maybe we haven't said explicitly what the blaster was, but I did go to the Foam Pro Tour qualifier 2 in New Jersey. I made a video. There is footage. It was in 2022. I was using a blaster. It was competitive worthy. It was not a Jolt. It was not a Maverick. It's something, if you don't call asking for something silly. I did try to take it seriously.
And I will say, this is one of my favorite competitive blasters that I actually currently still have in my comp rotation. So fantastic platform. But yeah, if you know the answer to the blaster that was used by Brett at Q2 FPT in New Jersey, call in the number and enter your chance to win the magical prizes. Ooh, I know people are on YouTube right now just looking up going to your channel right now trying to find out. We're gonna get a call any second. And shame on you, audience, for not knowing this already. I would imagine that you should have seen this video already. I've seen it a couple times actually. Probably because I'm in it, honestly, but
That's how gameplay footage works.
Yeah.
It's you watch the
Um,
gameplay footage that you're in, you were at, or you took it yourself.
Trying to remember. Why we wait for why we wait for someone to call in? We can just why don't we roll some comp footage? While we wait, and we can discuss comp footage, the tournament footage. I'm so sorry. And why don't you tell us about joining Dauntless and then evolving to Paradox and then now you're on or you were on Team Smog, which is now Team Nebula, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I you might still
Comp
be out
footage,
there.
Dappy.
Was I officially ever on Dauntless? I don't think so, but we can pretend that.
That's it. Yeah.
Sure. Hey, look, that's comp. Yeah. Yeah. So my teams have definitely changed over the years, and I'd like to say that I'm still somewhat of a free-ish agent. Not like I just have like I'll play with a bunch of different people if I want to. Of course, if now
Right.
Nebula is going to an event, that would probably be my priority because that's going to be the best way for me to practice with people that I trust and that trust me. That's sort of what happens, when you start to find the people you play with, especially if they're local. But over the years, it started with I joined some folks who were on the Davis team because I've already explained. I went to Davis. I visited Davis a couple times, and a lot of the people in the Davis Nerf group would eventually go on to be key players in the kind of NorCal scene for Nerf. And so when I would visit and be like, "Hey, can I play with some folks?" I'd be like, "Oh, my friend Kyle and his friends now. They're my friends and my team. Sure, good enough." And they were great. And they were great fun to play with. And we played Dauntless quite a bit. And and then it evolved to playing against Dauntless. Oh, we got a caller. I will shut up.
Okay, we'll take the caller. Finally, someone has found the footage, I'm assuming. Hello, caller. Who do we have on the line?
Hello.
Who do we have?
Just a guy that is ready to answer the trivia question.
All right, guy who's ready to answer the trivia question. What is the answer to the trivia question?
I'm going to say it's the Dart Zone MK3.
Ding, 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 ding.
Correct.
That is correct. Now, Brett, tell us why you chose to use the Mark III for the qualifier.
Because Dart Zone sent it to me. Is one of the easiest answers I have. They sent me a Mark III. They said, "Here's going to be our tournament." And I said, "All right, sure. This is a new blaster. Might as well try it out, like at an actual tournament setting." And I mean, for the most part, it worked okay. Like I don't think I didn't lose
Yeah,
because
it's
of
okay.
that.
It's an okay blaster.
Yeah, it was unmodded, so I had a good time with it still. I did use all the mags that I had for the Dart Zone Pro Mark III, and I think maybe an old teammate now has that one in particular, just because I eventually had multiples. But yeah, the Mark III.
And you were running full lengths in it too, right?
No, I was using half lengths.
For some reason, I thought you were running full lengths, but I thought was hilarious if that was the case.
I think that had to do with the team makeup. I think we were trying to overlap with ammo types there.
Sure, for sure. That makes sense, obviously. But yeah, no, I thought if you get a chance, go check out that video because I think it's hilarious. But you did extremely well with the Mark III. I think that's right when it came out at that time. I think RJ brought a modified version to that same qualifier, and I ended up modifying mine.
Too.
That's right.
Buff Daddy did.
Buff was playing with that too, so it was a pretty popular blaster at that qualifier. And like I said, it's one of my favorite current comp blasters. I have a band blaster set up, short nose on it, so it's hitting right on the dot of 200 FPS. And I have the Ezekiel rate of fire kit, drop-in kit, so 8 darts a second. And it is so good. It's still so good. So I always have trouble deciding what I like better, the Omnia or the Mark III. But there's something about that Mark III and its flexibility that I don't know. It's a lot of fun. But anyways, congratulations, caller. Go ahead and drop us
Thank you.
give us a DM with your contact information, and we will send out your Dart Zone Max Solo, and we'll get Brett to send out some swag as well. So thank you so much for calling, and appreciate you for tuning into the live stream.
And I will continue to call for further questions.
Awesome. Do you have any further questions? Let me ask you that. Or do we drop them? Okay. Guess not. Okay. No worries. Okay. So yeah, we were still talking about comp and kind of how that evolved. You know, you started out with that one team, and then you switched over to Paradox, or I guess Paradox asked you, and that consisted
The
of
eventual, like amalgamation that was Paradox. I still have like a lot of my old jerseys too, so you can kind of, even if you forget, you retrace your steps with the old swag. Yeah, and Paradox. The funny thing about that, of course, was that the team that came together from all different parts of the world. So that was just kind of funny in its own right, and then we did okay. So that was cool. Our original, the only long sleeve jersey I have, so that's kind of cool. But also kind of warm. So I think it's the fanciest jersey as a result. Like this, can I say this jersey goes hard? Because it does. It does go pretty hard. And I think we have Milan to thank for that, of Devil's Nerf Works. I think it was him who was the kingpin in getting that all organized. I'll say there's so many great jerseys now though, so don't take
there
that
are
as a
a
challenge.
lot of jerseys that are straight fire for sure, and I'm super excited to see what jerseys are going to be at Maryland Mayhem and all the other tournaments that are coming up. So and then the last team that you played with, you said was was Team Smog, which is now Nebula, and you guys are going to be doing 2 teams this time.
Yeah, I mean it's weird when you put it like that. It's like it's technically true, but like for everyone who's like, wait, so is this team fielding 2 teams? It's like there's a group of people who are on a team, like it's the umbrella that is like the Nebula group. They have the group that's mostly from like the States, and then there's a large group who are under the Nebula like kind of group in Singapore who are also able to make it to the event. And so we've got enough people who are making that team as well. So that is the other team. It'd be nice if there were 2 very distinct names. I don't know if they're input that way as such, but yes, there are 2 groups that fall under the Nebula umbrella, kind of like how for the was it Foam Pro Tour, like you had the Rochester Radioactive, and
Right.
you had the
Falsely
Flower City
Fallout.
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Well, it sounds like we have another caller. So let's go ahead and get them on the line. Hello, caller. Who do we have on the line?
Hello. General Strife.
General Stripe, my man. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Good. You guys?
Fantastic. I'm sure you are already subscribed and have seen a ton of Brett's content. What do you got for us? What do you got for us today, this week? General Stripe is one of our regular call-ins, if you didn't know.
Because Brett is known for his silly and impractical loadouts. I was wondering, what is your silliest loadout by your account, and what is the most impractical loadout you've had?
So let's see. Of recent memory, the world's smallest Nerf blasters come to mind, because when you have something that's small, obviously, when the person can't even see the projectile, there's a lot of trust that has to go into even taking the hit. There's one thing to even see if you got the tag, and it's another to say, I got you, and for the person to agree, like, sure. Because, I mean, someone got hit in the face and they didn't feel it, which, understandable. It's not only the world's smallest Nerf blaster at that point, it's the world's smallest Nerf projectile. So, no, Mark Rober is not here to defend that, by the way. So we're going with it. So that is of course something I think that will be fairly up pretty high in that category. But anything But there's definitely an argument to be made that you can have a more impractical blaster than even something like that. Anything that just isn't reliable at firing is maybe even worse. You know, there are blasters that are notoriously jammers that you think, okay, this is actually like the worst possible loadout. People love to say the deploy. That depends on who you are and what version you have, because mine was never that bad. Also a very different era. But like I had, you know, some very serious problems with the Doomland, the was it the double dealer? You know, that one got a bad rap for jamming. And then the Doominator, I had one that was really, really bad when it came to skipping cylinders when you'd flip it over. And so you think about kind of those, and especially if you're saying like, okay, I'm going to use this in HVZ. I mean, yeah, the world's smallest Nerf blasters probably wouldn't be allowed at something like an HVZ for a good reason. You literally can't see what's going on. But like, I'd probably go with something that's like a Jolt, which someone would be like, wow, a single shot blaster, or like a silly, like a Star Wars variant, a Fortnite variant, you know, something that's like a front loading single shot Jolt, instead of something like the Double Dealer or the Doominator. Those I would consider to be very unreliable and very goofy and dangerous loadouts, because you could get yourself very in a very sticky situation because it just doesn't fire. And that's why.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in, General Strife. We look
Yep.
forward to your call on Get Off My Lawn next week. Excuse me. So, excuse me. So the main reason I really wanted to have you on here after an hour later is I wanted to talk about content creation, because ultimately I think that's what a lot of us recognize you and appreciate you for. So let's talk about your content creation. What got you into it? Why did you start it? Why did you want to do content creation?
Yeah. Well, I got into content creation to make money because I felt that Nerf was a very lucrative business that I could exploit and probably make millions off of if I played my cards right.
And can we roll the UMBC HBZ mission 1 or footage B-roll? It's the first link. I think he had.
You want to play some video games?
No, not that one. I'm so sorry.
You like Nerf?
That is
I have
fun.
like no dump pouch because I don't have a tactical.
I'll give you a
box.
thumbs
I'm
up.
just carrying stuff.
I'll give you a thumbs up when it's right. Brett, go ahead. I'm so
The
sorry.
nighttime ones. We're giving people enough time to also just realize that was a joke, in case anyone's taking that seriously. It's
That's
hey,
it.
there we go. Yeah, perfectly lit. But the game was lit. Yeah, I'm gonna shut up with that now. So, yeah, why I got into content creation, and hopefully I've kind of set the scene for like that I've been playing for a while, and as I slowly got introduced to other people making videos online and sharing their stuff, it became appealing. It was like, oh, this is cool, but not for me. I like watching other people do stuff, and I learned a lot through that. But I don't see myself doing that at the same time. I tried like real small little stuff at my like parents' garage, just like recording real quick videos of like comparing two blasters. Yo, it's that guy. And that's cool, Needler too.
Oh,
But
there
it
is.
never but it never was anything like serious. I never shared this kind of stuff. The first things I started sharing was gameplay, which is why you always will see some sort of gameplay on my channel. It's how everything started, just recording stuff from my point of view, from the games that I set up, the games that I attended. That's what mattered to me, and that's why I made a YouTube channel to share that stuff. It wasn't to share to the world, it was to share to my friends. It was to share to the people who had literally just come from the same game. It was like, dude, I got the most awesome point of view content of like what we just did, and it's in like 240p. It is amazing. Like, this is the best.
I
And
guess.
I will, and if I look back on some of that stuff, I'd probably cry, not out of like pain, but be like, oh my god, nostalgia, it hurts. But the yeah, so that's where it all started, right? Like, it didn't start because I was like, man, I think the world needs to know what I think about this particular blaster. It was because I wanted to share the gameplay stuff, because that's what got me in, the gameplay. And then over the years, I'd go to more events and make more gameplay footage. And what really set it off to like try more of what you see now as like the content creation of my channel was because I met more people who actually did it like in person. When I was kind of helping get the Pacific Northwest Nerf Club started with others, kind of the first people who really went to one of those games in like 2016. Wacom S7 was there for the first time seeing him in person. Captain Xavier was there before he was well known as Captain Xavier, right? He probably refers to this as one of the first times, you know, he actually got out and went to a game that wasn't HVZ. So that's where a lot of that started. Some of those like friendships were made, the like connections were made. And then as some of those, like as we saw like Wacom make videos, and then as Chalo, Captain Xavier started making more of his videos, I was like there watching, maybe helping on the sidelines. You're like, okay, this is fun. I might do something like this instead. Cause you find what you enjoy watching, you find what you enjoy helping with, and then you're like, I think I would enjoy this. So I kind of found ways to incorporate what I wanted to see in entertaining videos, because these were videos that I had wanted to watch when I was still younger, the stuff that I would have sought out when I was, again, still in like middle school or high school and interested in like Nerf stuff. And a big part of that for me was seeing more gameplay, seeing more real gameplay from people at games, because I didn't have those games to go to yet. So that's what I did, because I had access to a lot of games. I tried my best to incorporate like my ability to go to games and use different stuff and share that with other people, because it was cool. Like, why wouldn't I enjoy doing something that I do? And over the years, I would start to get some questions of people asking kind of what you prompted me with, like, you know, why did you start making videos? Or let's say like, hey, I want to make a YouTube channel. What should I do? And I was like, oh, you don't know what you want to do? I mean, the whole point of me making videos, the whole point of me starting my YouTube channel was because I knew what I wanted to do. I'd waited like 8 years at that point to do something. And so that's when I started doing it. That's when I started making the videos that you would now come to know as the I'd Run That in a War series. And then I got extra goofy and did like WikiHow reviews, because I would watch WikiHow review videos in high school, and I thought they were funny enough to then share with people later. So that is it all just kind of snowballed over time. It wasn't something that I set out to do from the very beginning. It was just something that eventually made sense of like, yeah, I've enjoyed this to its fullest extent. I think I'm going to share it with other people. And then they should enjoy, hopefully they enjoy what I'm doing, because if they don't, like, I guess I'll still enjoy it because I enjoy watching what I do there. So it really started with the gameplay. And then it evolved into more various topics that I just found to be similar in that fun, silly category.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think? What do you think has evolved with your content creation? What has become your main mission or main goal with your content creation and your channel?
Yeah, and I know this will definitely vary depending on who you talk to. I've always tried to entertain. Like, you know, I enjoy watching entertainment, and you could say there is some education in there too. I'm not going to say like you're not going to get a mod guide from me. You're not going to get a good mod guide. Um, Sorry, I'm the wrong channel for that. But I've never tried to be like the super informative, like you'll find the best testing on my YouTube channel. It's like it's not going to be that one. It's hopefully going to be entertainment, and it's hopefully going to be something that makes you excited to be like in the hobby. I would hope that you see my content and you think, okay, this is a positive representation of Nerf. It's something that, I mean, yeah, you don't necessarily show it to everyone you know, because I prefer only people who are interested to see that kind of stuff. But I would hope that those who are interested in Nerf can see my stuff and be like, okay, that's a fun way to play. I respect that. Or I didn't think of trying that before. Or I would never use that blaster. Oh, but Brett used it. All right, let's see how much of a train wreck this was. And then you've hopefully been entertained. You got a smile on your face, or you feel bad for me. Those are a few of the potential outcomes. Yeah, I guess that's my main mission still. It has been from the beginning.
For sure. I mean, one of the things I really enjoy and appreciate of about your content is some of the topic discussions about the hobby and the state of the community that we're in at some points, and striking up a discussion, on some pretty important things sometimes. And I think that really kind of separates you maybe from a lot of the other channels out there. Not to say that they don't exist, but I think what separates you is it's not just doing blaster reviews, it's not just doing gameplay footage, but it's also having these kind of important discussions about what's going on.
Yeah. Also, just doing reviews is it can be a burnout machine, and it can also be really boring. Reviews are boring, but that's because they have to be. The best reviews are boring because you just want the facts. Am I supposed to buy this or not? I don't want to be entertained. I want to be told if this is good or bad without too much bias. But everyone's biased. Like, how far can I take this rant? So that's always what I've tried to do too, is how have I changed over time? It's like you have to do stuff that is engaging in different ways. And some people will ask, why don't you make this video like you used to? Why don't you make the video like that I enjoyed before? I subscribed for this. And you're like, what if I'm not enjoying that? Or what if this is what interests me now? As I've said, I got in for the blasters, I stayed for the people, and then I got into the content creation side for the gameplay. And then I've found new and different ways to enjoy it. And you can cast too wide of a net on your style of content, and then it gets overwhelming. Or
Right.
you can too narrowly define, as I'm just going to review every new blaster. And then not only are you bored, then you're financially drained. And I don't think I need to explain too much as to how easy that can be with all the new blasters coming out, not just from Nerf, but from every company. So you really have to pick and choose and find something that is meaningful and that actually excites you, as Marie Kondo would say. What brings you joy? And if this does not bring you joy, you get rid of it. So yeah, and that's why it's very different for different people. So yeah, my style of videos isn't going to work for, I mean, I don't want to throw out anyone in particular, but yeah, it's my style is going to be different than other people you watch too. And that's good, right? It should be, because we're different people.
Absolutely. It sounds like we have another caller, so let's go ahead and get that caller on the line. Hello, caller. Who do we have? And where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Mantic from SoCal.
Oh no.
Mantic from Team Nebula. Yeah.
What do you,
So I just
what do
want to say, Dart Zone MK3. Did I win?
Yes, I'll give you all your good stuff next time I see you. What else do you
Nice.
want?
Nice. Oh yeah, I guess I should ask you a question then. What's your favorite muzzle attachment?
Favorite muzzle attachment?
No. For blaster, yeah.
This is an actual question that requires thinking. Oh no.
Yeah, if you were to have like a really nice, like, pro spec blaster, what kind of muzzle attachment would you put on the front end of that thing?
I do like that Nebula B car that I got from Gavin.
Yeah.
That is a pretty piece. I am also currently
What
testing
about a silly one?
a silly one. Oh no.
Yeah.
What could you possibly be referring to?
I mean,
If we're
something you
talking
probably
about
wouldn't
like
want to step on.
a muzzle piece, I'm gonna go with the with the extended muzzle piece on the Jurassic Pro prop blaster.
Oh, that's a good
Does
one,
that
yeah.
count?
I think it does count.
Yeah, it's pretty
Mantic, does this one you're thinking, does it maybe have fangs on it? Does it
Yes,
like
yes,
slither?
yes.
Does it do that?
You're hot. You're getting hotter.
There was a right answer to this, in case you can't tell, Andrew. He's talking about
Ah.
removable Viper Strike barrel.
Oh,
Yeah,
That is
goes
the
great on
winning.
everything.
That is the that is peak competitive new hotness. What you
Yeah.
attach to the front of your blaster for accuracy.
Mhm.
it looks like a lot of fun.
Is a way to
At
ruin
least.
It
your
is definitely
game.
intimidating, that's for sure. There's a psychological, value to that.
Yeah, and you can potentially tag other people with it, and some clubs will allow that, and some
Yeah,
won't, probably for good reason.
yeah. I've been bit a few times.
I did in fact use it before detaching at a game. That was at the that was at the parkour arena. Or the
Yeah, the
it's not
parkour arena, another venue,
Yeah.
you know, that we played in SoCal, which is a bit crazy playing in a parkour park.
Trampoline, yeah, the trampoline one, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, the
it was
Viper Strike
definitely
is a
interesting. There's a vertical element to a Nerf war.
Yeah, if you guys can if you guys
Thanks for
ever
taking
get to
my.
rent out one of those, it's pretty fun. A parkour arena, which also has like little trampolines. Questionable on safety, but fun if you don't get hurt.
Oh yeah, I was definitely terrified for my life. All right, bye guys.
Bye, Mantic.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. That place you're talking about, is that the one that has like castles and
It might be. Yeah, it actually might be.
like green inflatable, not green inflatable, I forget, but yeah, I think I've seen that in a few of your videos. Looks like a lot of fun. Did we say we have another caller?
I think I heard that, yeah.
All right, let's get the other caller on. We got a lot of calls tonight. Hello, caller. Who do we have, and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Foam Mando. I'm calling from Eastern Canada. I'm neighbors with Maritime Foam.
Foam Mando, how are ya?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Oh, wait.
What do you got going on?
Well, first, I just wanted to say thank you to Beret, because I'm a small content creator myself. And one time you took the time to comment on one of my videos, and it really made my day, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much for that.
Of course.
And I did call with a question. It's actually a bit of a two-part question. So our club has recently come into the possession of a mint condition XBZ. So the question is, do I have your blessing to mod it into a musical instrument? And if so, how would you recommend I start?
Well, the good news is that you don't need my blessing, but you can have it if it means anything. As someone who has zero musical talent and experience, that's why I say you don't really need it, but I also know what you're referring to because of a non-musical rocket launching foam weapon. If I were to recommend a style of blaster to turn it into, I always thought a trumpet would be funny, though that is also relatively straight. I don't want to say anything that's straightforward, but you can kind of see how that would work.
Yeah, trumpet or trombone actually makes a lot of sense. And I didn't want to necessarily copy the legendary sax BZ, but I feel like a musical instrument would pay homage.
Mm-hmm. So that had been an idea before, but I'm sure it can be executed better than what my original ideas for one would have been, since the sax BZs themselves are quite janky, and every time someone sees them in person, they are surprised at how poorly made they are, which is an honor. So yeah, I think a trumpet is definitely something. If you want to kind of get your feet wet with a musical instrument modification, I think that's a great first one. I'm trying to think what else would be a good option. Andrew, you got anything? Are you?
Well, I think that's a great start. I really appreciate the help.
All right, perfect. Good luck.
Awesome. Thank you, Foam Mando, for calling in, and we appreciate your support. We know. All right, excellent. Yeah, thank you for calling in, Foam Mando, and shout out to Canada. So we were just talking about Canada. Content creation, all of Canada. So we were talking about content creation and kind of how you evolved. Technically speaking, how have you seen your application production evolve with the hobby as it grows and as technology grows to capture that?
Yeah, and like when I first started, you know, I did not have experience with any of this stuff, like making videos. I did not go to school for anything related to production. I also didn't go. Some people have thought like I must have gone to school for like theater or improv. No. So like not only did I learn more editing styles like online, I've also slowly learned to like just get better at speaking on camera, which no way am I saying that I'm good or proficient or expert level at. I'm just saying I can see a visible improvement over time the more you do it. So for those, yes, who are also getting started out and are like, well, I don't know if I'm kind of shy around the camera. It's like, yeah, you think I wasn't? Still am, depending on the wrong crowd. Like this has taken a long time to cultivate. So just like the getting in front of the camera, not completely fumbling your lines, finding a good balance of like what I want to write down to prep before a video. Because sometimes I will do something that's fully scripted. Other times I'll make bullet points. Other times comes from the heart. Let it fly, and then you get stuck with an hour of footage, and you get to trim it down to 15 minutes. Maybe don't do that. That kind of sucks. But you know, you've also there's a way to learn. I guess if you really put yourself through that, you find where you stutter more frequently. You find where you make weird, awkward pauses. Why did I make that face that time? That's a weird face. Does everyone see that face? Oh my gosh. So by forcing yourself to look at your own work, you will slowly get better at it. And then you can see where you more naturally pause, maybe cut that out. And then, I mean, just, yeah, like looking at a timeline for the first time, because I think I've had Windows Movie Maker before and put something very simple together when I was younger. And then seeing on iMovie, like a way to add, oh my gosh, I can add a visual on top of me. Mind blown. Like, this is amazing. I can enhance myself. And then finding new ways to, like, you know, the green screen effects. And obviously, all that stuff is only getting easier and easier as technology access becomes, the bars to entry become lower and lower. So it's really cool what you're able to do. And then I've also found, like, okay, there's some things I want to put into my videos that are like fun and they feel like something that I would do. And then there's stuff that's like way over the top. Like, I don't want to spend 20 hours editing for a single video all the time. But sometimes it's fun to experiment. So I find what kind of works well for me, which sometimes is, yes, adding extra graphics. Maybe you make a fun picture, you cut that out, and you realize that, yeah, part of this is learning. Part of this is just going to take some time. It might suck, but you're going to learn a new skill, and you can only do that over time. So this was not something, again, that I started in high school. It was just like expert, proficient. It's like over time, find what's better. You slowly improve. You slowly get better. And you don't set yourself out to be like, I've never tried to be like the same production quality as Luke from Out of Darts. Good friend, actual expert in the field. And even he knows that he has to scale down for some of the things he's doing for YouTube because it's not the same as his previous job. So you find what works for you. If it sounds good enough and it looks good enough and people aren't complaining about it, I'm going to call it good for the day. But there's always going to be room for improvement. And as long as, yeah, people are enjoying what I'm putting out and that aren't some glaring technical issues, I'm going to call that a victory. So yeah, it's Hit Film Pro is my current go-to, and I haven't left because I've just learned enough about it. That's kind of like, I'm afraid to leave that software because I don't want to have to start over.
Right. Just so when you first started out, were you using your cell phone camera or GoPro, and has that evolved over time to getting good lights and audio and
so I did webcam used to be an experiment. I don't know if I posted any of those things at the time, and this is old webcam stuff, so not even like, you know, because I could record something from this and it would probably be okay, but from old webcam on your laptop, nah. But phone was definitely a go-to, and obviously nowadays phone is totally fine. Like, phone might be more powerful, and obviously it's pretty easy given how easily it connects to everything. So
absolutely,
phone's great. And then just like, I think one of the first things I did get into because I saw how much of a difference it could make was just that mic, you know, the lapel mic, just anything that you can connect and attach to you. You know, you learn what's too loud, you learn what's too quiet, but at least it's something. It gives you just slightly better audio. You're like, okay, as long as people aren't complaining about this, I think this is gonna work. Like, I'm not into super crazy high, like, yeah, road mics that are like detached, because I always I feel like I'm always screwing that up, or like I don't have the proper sound panels in my room to do that stuff. Like, I have a little bit of something, but it's not too crazy. And I do have like a couple lights that I'll put up typically when I'm making videos. But my biggest pet peeve is I don't have a set space that's like ready to go whenever I want it to. Obviously, right there is where I typically would turn my chair and then we get going. But I still have to set up my camera, lights, get the microphone. So yeah, it's a process, and it would be great to not have to do that, but it works for the space that I have. So stop complaining, Brett. And yes, I did get a camera eventually that was a little bit nicer. I have a Canon EO E50. Is there an O in there? E50? That one. Yeah, one of the more common ones. It's not crazy. And there still is probably something I could do to optimize the output of that camera, but I just haven't done because I'm not good at that. I suck. So I could spend an afternoon probably looking into that, and it'd probably be useful. But my goal has typically been for, the gameplay footage. That was what excelled first. That was what went from like wearable camera in like ski goggles or like sunglasses to then like, yes, GoPro Hero 2 to 5 session to 7. Now there's a Go 2. Like, so I've actually gone through more action cameras because that's where my primary footage came from, and that's what I wanted to share first and foremost. So I guess, yeah, if anything, and now there's so many options on those too. They look so good. So I hope that people can find use for if they want to get like an action camera for games, that they can take it back and just use it as like a primary filming camera, because it's not a bad option. Maybe if you just get like some separate audio, it's probably going to work fine.
Which you easily can do these days with the GoPro and DJI action cam. What action cam are you actually using to shoot your gameplay footage these days?
I really do like the Insta360 Go 2 is the one I have now. Everyone's getting the 3. I got the Go 2 from Zelkos because he offloaded that one to me so he could get a 3. But I just wanted to experience that one for the first time before maybe getting one for myself. And it's so small. It hurts less on your head when you're wearing it, because I've found over the years that if I wear a GoPro for too long, and big chunky GoPro, which is useful, but it's like it would give me a headache. And so what I would do is I would actually not wear my GoPro all day. I'd wear it just for the relevant rounds to get footage from, do my job of getting content, do my job of getting gameplay footage, and then I'd take it off and wear no GoPro for half the day just because it would get tiresome. Now the Go 2, it can sit here. It can sit here. It's less of a worry to even get hit by a stray dart, right? So you don't have to worry about wearing it for like games where you don't want extra bulk, but also it's so tiny that you can almost forget about it, and it's fantastic. I'm not looking for something that's like I have to have the removable micro SD in that case. It's just the convenience factor is like is peak. So I can't recommend that one enough for those who really just want something that's lightweight. I'm sure there's other options too, and I'm sure I'm going to be wearing a GoPro at other times as well. But having, I guess, both, since I've accumulated them over the years, I'm not unhappy about that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I remember when the Instago 2 came out originally. The thing I really thought was something I really was interested in if I had gotten it was the horizon lock option. The horizon lock option, so it's everything's leveled and you're not tilting your head one way or the other and worrying about the image shifting on you. But these days, I know that the newer GoPros have horizon lock. I believe the DJI action camera 4 has the horizon lock. So there are options out there for sure, and cheap options, and I'm always a firm believer in honestly whatever gets the job done at the end of the day.
They're so good. I'm so
works.
happy that has progressed to the point where if you really just want to make a solid investment on an action camera, you should be pretty good with a variety of options. And that just means that we can share more, right? We can share more from events, and more people can play around with their footage and share just better experiences from events maybe you've never heard of.
Yeah, and let's be honest. At the end of the day, we're not making Scorsese or Spielberg films here. So it just needs to be somewhat presentable. So, well, know from the live chat audience and yourself, what has been some of your favorite content creation clips and moments? And if we want to roll some more B-roll clips just for fun in the background, what have been some of your most memorable videos that you've done? And that same question goes to the live chat. What are some of your favorite Beret, Bert, Brett videos? Man who sometimes wears beret hats. What are some of your favorite videos and moments?
Gosh, it's so hard to choose, because as soon as and this is a good sign, right? When you're like, okay, I think I'm doing something right, or at least I'm doing something that I enjoy, when I can go back and watch previous stuff and be like, that's funny. And sometimes I'll get re-inspired by watching old videos too, which I guess, also a good thing. Because like going back and watching old I'd Run That in a War videos are like, oh my gosh, I haven't used that kind of blaster in ages. I want to do that again. So I can imagine I had one of my loadout videos in mind and I just forgot what my favorite was. But just in general, the whole idea of like polling the audience and then having them get to vote on blasters and then see loadouts kind of come to fruition that they contributed to, I think was a really fun experience. And I'm still trying to incorporate that somehow. It's different. And when people ask why aren't you doing that? It's like, there's a lot that goes into it, but it's been really fun. So I will never not do it. I will try to do it again. Yeah, there you go. Soft commitment. Because those have been some of my favorites, including like there are some fun moments from the WikiHow videos that, of course, are some of my more popular that got discovered by the YouTube algorithm. But those have some very good moments of like when I collaborated with others to get some of my cutscenes, which were funny, like at Captain Xavier's old place, when we're all dressed up and just kind of goofing around. That's like the closest I've ever been to trying to like make videos where you have a script, so to speak, and you're trying to act out certain scenes. So that was different and that was fun. I think though some of the games that I posted from like Fort Flagler was one of our like coldest game day evers will always stick with me. It was a really cool day, and I did use a Nerf Moto Strike at that event. So I think that kind of overlaps the crazy gameplay, crazy location with perfect Brett moment. Moto Strike at like an abandoned military bunker was pretty good. I do have a fond memory of that event. That was a whole weekend trip too, so that was pretty significant. That was a good trip. Gosh, what else? Let's see does anyone else recommend something. The I'd Run That in a War once. There you go. I got it right. Oh yeah, and there's plenty of footage that we just saw too, like Maryland Mayhem. There's so many fun memories from the HVZ. I hope that I gave some people some good memories and maybe some good scares, or actually, they weren't scares. I didn't scare anyone. I confused a lot of people, and then slowly people realized who it was, and they just got more confused. So like, I mean, I guess that's good. A certified Brett moment. And a lot of people, you said it before too, like I'm wearing the hat. A lot of people really liked those just offhand Bert videos too. Just like the complete out of nowhere, like does not care. So it's really funny to see what people come back and ask to see more of, because I've just tried so many different random stuff. And for some people, this is it was just those kinds of things. Something that I just decided to randomly do, low effort, and that stuck better than a lot of my other videos that I would put a lot more time into. So I don't know what you can take away from that as far as content creation, but sometimes it's just random. So I think that covers a few of the bases.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's a lot of fun and you have fun what you're doing, and that's really what it's all about.
That's important too. Yeah, if you're not having
absolutely.
fun, you can't.
Absolutely. So this kind of leads into we're starting to wrap up here, but what tips do you have for people that are interested in getting into content creation on any level? And the old day question of how can you maybe avoid burnout if this is something that you are planning to do seriously?
Someone said Walmart tank as well. Yeah, I've not forgot about. Yeah.
That did you ever get
Yeah.
one?
No, well, look, the hunt is always on. But yes, burnout, I know that has been I won't say popular topic, but it has been a relevant topic, and not just for like Nerf enthusiasts, but for like I think it's been a big thing on YouTube recently too, which is kind of crazy. And I think I touched on this a little bit earlier as well about like you want to cast yourself a wide enough net so you can enjoy stuff, because if you're stuck in one lane, it might lead to burnout. But as I've also found, when you make like a bunch of different series where you're like, okay, I'm going to go to my next event. I got 3 blasters I need to use. So I got to use this one, this one, this one. Hopefully I can get good gameplay footage from those, so I can just use those rounds to get footage. And you have to play a little bit differently when you're getting good gameplay footage. Hopefully you get tags. Hopefully at least you add some commentary to it. I do want to borrow that blaster. Maybe I can get some footage with that too. Maybe I can record something on the side. You can very easily overwhelm yourself if you don't really dial back expectations for others and yourself. And that's not to say you can't try a bunch of different stuff, but like at my point right now, if you said like, hey Brett, what's your next video going to be? Is it going to be blank from blank series? There's a lot of potentials that could come in that sentence, in that question. And if I was trying to keep everything active that I had been doing since I'd like basically started my channel, it would be a lot. So you do, in some cases, have to very much realize that some things are just going to end and other things are going to start. And that's because your interests will change. And it sucks to think about that. Like your interest might not be the same thing as you started. You might be like, okay, I'm all dead set on this series because I think it's hilarious. I think this is what people want. And then you lose steam. And then there are some like diehard fans who are like, this is why I came. This is why I subscribe. Why aren't you doing this, Brett? And you're like, I'm not really enjoying it as much. I'm finding more enjoyment in this new thing. And I can't like keep both going at the same time, because if I try to do both, I'll do both of them only half as good as I would do one thing 100% good. So you just, you get a better feel for what you enjoy doing and what you think is worth your time, because we only get so much time. We only have so much money, right? Most of us are dealing with a budget of 0 or dealing with a budget that is just whatever you can afford to, pay for like a new blaster or various projects. So, this isn't a business thing, right? Like that, I am a single creator. I am but one man. I am not working with a team to make videos. It is all on me. So it is all what fits within my scope of work and my abilities. And so if I run myself too far, then we might see some burnout. And it's definitely happened in small cases. And as I've realized, you kind of just take the breaks you need to hopefully push forward something that you are proud of. Because I have a list of ideas most of the time. And if I just kept adding to that list of like fun stuff I could do, I probably wouldn't get anything done, which sucks because I do have a lot of fun ideas and things that I could tell people, be like, dude, you have not seen this before in a game. You're going to die. This will be hilarious. But I have to get to other stuff first. And if I focus on what I want to do 2 months from now, the thing that I should be doing right now is never going to get done. And I've seen that happen quite a few times. And when you do start to get to a position where people are willing to send you stuff for review, even if it's not like your main video type, but you do make some of those commitments, you got to analyze like, okay, I should make sure that gets done at least at a timely manner. That's important. Or especially like, hey, my friend made this and they're going to send it to me to review. I should probably do that, not spend stupid hours on this dumb edit. Like, that's fun, but focus in on what matters, your friends in this case too. So if anything, it's just find what you enjoy and don't overload yourself, because it can, as we've watched so many different content creators make so many different types of videos. I mean, I could do that. I could try my hand at this thing too. but is it worth it? It's going to take too much time. It's going to take too much money. And for those people who try to tackle everything, they'll probably find really quickly that it's not. And if they don't find success from it immediately, a lot of people will also be turned off. And that's, I think, a little bit unfortunate if you can't just slowly build your audience, slowly build kind of your reputation, your style. Like, what do people know you for your videos? It's like, well, it takes time. It sucks to hear that. It sucks to hear that now, but it's true. Because the reason I can do so much stuff I do now is because I have that backlog of 15 years in my back pocket.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like really just kind of set some realistic expectations and goals and just kind of pace yourself and, have a plan, but at the same time be a little bit flexible and really just try to find a groove, but something that you enjoy doing. So fantastic. So couple last questions before we close out, but let's see. First one, we'll reverse this. What events are you planning to attend this year, if any? Where can people hopefully see you in person?
Yeah, Maryland Mayhem.
All right.
I got it. Woo! I did it. Yes, I will be at Maryland Mayhem next month. A little later next month, but next month I will be at Maryland Mayhem. That is going to be fun. I am looking forward to it. We will share more details as it gets closer, I suppose. But I'm also looking forward to all the announcements you guys have for it leading up. So, that's the next big event. And then after that, I'm going to be visiting the Pacific Northwest for a game. Not a big, huge invitational, but it's important to me. So that's why I'm mentioning it. And then, of course, I'll be going to RAG later in the year. Once that's all officially announced, I should be there. I am thinking, it is a thought in my mind, APOC is a word.
Yeah.
It is a word, and it is one that exists. There's a BPOC I've also heard.
BPOC is a word too. Yep.
So yeah, those are words. That's all.
Well,
that's all.
APOC, BPOC, and we hope to CPOC you there. Sorry. I am so sorry. I apologize. Thumbs down. Let me leave. I'll see myself out.
I am thinking about it though. I'm going to see if the time works.
I'm gonna blame Zelkos and Gotham and Jed for. I'm gonna say they came up with that and blame that on them. There we go.
Oh, that's totally fine. I believe you. Yeah.
So awesome. So you heard it there. Maryland Mayhem, RAG, and potentially APOC and BPOC, and of course your local club events as well. Where do you see yourself and the hobby in the near future? Let's say in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed quite a bit just recently. I'm very curious what comp is going to look like in that time. That's what I'm most curious about, because I think we're still going to be having plenty of our kind of casual, like the most well-known kind of like Nerf games, right? You've got your super stock. There's always going to be new blasters coming out that hit like underneath those kind of standard FPSs. So I'm sure those games will keep happening and they'll still be fun, which is good, because that's kind of my primary like game type. If I had to choose one, that's what got me in. That's what I'll stick with. I am curious if we will see finally like a more standardized or recognized comp scene. I said before, like, we don't need to have one style across the board, but I'm just curious if it'll be more recognized, or there'll kind of just be a better understanding of like this style. If you want to go with it, then this is what it is. And like, no questions asked. This is what you need to run it. This is what like kind of the benchmark for a successful event is. And then like, these are the groups that are running them. I'll be curious if that's a little bit more standardized. I'll also be curious if companies have really gotten into it themselves. There's a big question about whether or not Nerf ball is got some problems because of like, news for Hasbro in the past couple months and stuff. So, there are things, maybe Dart Zone has more events in the future too. Maybe X-Shot jumps into the fray. I don't freaking know. So I will be very curious if that changes, because I think a lot of the other style games should hopefully, fingers crossed, continue as enjoyable as they are. And if anything, we'll see just more standardized invitationals pop up, because we're already seeing that now, right? We're seeing more of them pop up in places that people can hopefully get to, meaning that, as we've touched on, just means that more people can have a better chance of attending events, like maybe their first event, and see not just like 5 people, but like 50, 100, like 200 people at an event, and it becomes a real memorable and unique experience. So that's what I hope to see more of in the 5-year future. And we'll see. Yeah, the comp is my most curious thing to see how that evolves.
Well, I want to give you the opportunity to go ahead and let people know where they can find you, social handles, and where YouTube. Where can people find you?
Yeah, YouTube is my primary platform. So that's beret.narf. Because if you use Nerf, who knows? So an A goes a long way. The Instagrams are also where I typically will check or post updates to, photos. You can cross post between Instagram and YouTube without too much hassle these days. So, and then TikTok kind of exists, but I really just post there if I have something that fits at this point. YouTube is the primary way that I try to share stuff with people, and Instagram is kind of like that extra communication tool. And I guess if you find me in a Discord group, then hi, how's it going? I'm Bert.
Well, again, really appreciate you being able to come on the live stream show this evening. I had a lot of fun. I think we planned originally for this to go about an hour or so, and here we are again at about the 2-hour mark. So time flies when you get going, but not a bad problem to have for sure. Any closing remarks that you'd like to say to the audience before we get out of here?
No. Thanks for having me on. This was a ton of fun, and I'm really excited for Maryland next month. I hope it's going to be a blast, just like last year. Looking forward to. I mean, you realize I haven't seen these people in like literally a year. It's going to be awesome. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. I want to thank the audience for joining us this evening. We will be back in 2 weeks with a special live streaming broadcast show, I guess, of the World Foam Alliance presents the Maryland Foam Tournament Bracket Day, and we'll be choosing the teams for the brackets. We're trying to get the captains from each team to hype up their team and introduce them on the stream. Also answer any questions that you may have, and Boomstick Mods, the head ref, will be there, and we'll be able to chat with you all, hopefully. Also, next week, starting Monday at 8 p.m., will be the next episode of the Lightning Hour with Sophie Lightning at 8 p.m. With special guest Captain Xavier, so make sure to tune in for that. And last but not least, on next Wednesday, will be another episode of Get Off My Lawn with none other than Al the Geek, and of course Captain Xavier again. So tune in for that for sure. But again, really appreciate everyone tuning in for this evening's live stream show. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Definitely look forward to seeing you guys for Bracket Day in a couple weeks. Be good, be safe, and always remember to Dart Sweep